episode of the TypeScript Tea Time. I'm your host, Mirko, and hope you have a beautiful day so far. How's it going, everybody? Today, jumping right in, we're going to kind of leave the T-Wars behind us. They were a great help. And we will be playing from time to time. So we gonna start a new project, yeah. And that project is going to be a NestJS GraphQL API. So we did at some point not too far ago, we did check out NestJS. We did check out NestJS multiple times, and we did check out recently a NestJS resource. Let's see. So just gotta check the audio here. So with everything. Yeah, I think that's better. So slightly. All right. Yeah. Well, with the music in place, you always gotta fit the audio nicely, and there's no really good way to actually check that, as far as I know. Anyway, GraphQL it is. Together with NestJS, we're going to build a little T API again. And yeah, for the time being, a prototyping approach, but I do intend to make this slightly longer. For that, I have here my trusty old friend Draw.io, aka diagrams.net. So the basic idea is I want to have a front end that uses Amplify to, well, on the one hand, talk to our NestJS GraphQL API. So that part is not Amplify, but I actually want to use AWS Cognito to provide identity provider as our identity provider. This is probably not going to happen today. So I have a new job, and I'm kind of tired. This is the first week, so that's always kind of a challenge, right? The basic idea, identity is provided with the help of Cognito. The front end leverages, or maybe here leverage Amplify, AWS Amplify, which is a tool you can check out. Probably a React app, I guess. Then it's going to talk to a NestJS GraphQL API via GraphQL upon the server. And well, this one talks to a database and so on. Blah blah blah, the fun stuff. And well, these two also have to talk at least somewhat to actually see that the users are real, and they can actually do something. The basic idea is like a T API. So welcome to the new people. We're going to check out a new project today with NestJS as always. And well, TypeScript as always, but this time with GraphQL. So, reason behind that, I have a new job and we are using GraphQL again. I did use it like 2 years ago, and now we're using it again, or I'm using it again. So that's a nice thing to see. This is basically validation, verify, token, and yeah, this fun stuff. For the time being, we're basically going to have a T endpoint where we can, I don't know, see the list of T's. We can see, let's see, the name of the T, maybe some ID, which temperature it should be boiled at, how long, and so on. All of that kind of stuff. And from a tech spec perspective, tech stack perspective, we're going to leverage three things. One thing is NestJS. Well, that wasn't too hard, right? Then NestJS minus GraphQL, which is a library. I think you write it like this. And then, after we've kind of got a hang on the regular NestJS GraphQL stuff, I'm going to leverage a library called NestJS Query, which makes things a lot simpler, as long as it doesn't get too complicated. NestJS Query will take most of the heavy lifting, in fact. So let us get started. I would say I can post these links in the chat if you're interested. Those are three links. One is for, well, the GraphQL NestJS stuff, then type GraphQL. So the NestJS GraphQL stuff leverages type GraphQL, so it's good to at least have the link. And then NestJS Query, which does a lot on top of that. So, NestJS GraphQL. At the very beginning, we of course have to say something like NestJS generate, new project, and we do, can I just say dot? Does that work? So which package manager do we want to use? I would say we use Yarn for the time being. So if you have any questions about what is GraphQL, what's NestJS, or what's your favorite color, feel free to ask. You're very, very welcome. I love the conversation. So, package initialization failed. Well, that's great. Not. Okay. Maybe we do dot remove episode 44. Remove minus rf. Then we make a directory. What he says. Step inside. Episode 44. And this time we say nest new minus hell minus directory. So nest new minus directory dot, and then a name, I suppose. Let's say tea time. So let's take npm this time. Hopefully it works. Maybe it was just my yarn being outdated or something. We will see. So what is GraphQL, you might ask? GraphQL is basically a kind of alternative to the regular REST API that you're probably used to. REST being very oriented kind of on nouns, on objects like t, and then you, for example, you create t, you read t, and you update t, and you delete t, and depending on that you choose the corresponding HTTP method, like you get, which is read basically, and you, for example, get /t's, which would be the read operation, or you post /t's, which would be the create operation, or you, let's say, patch /t's /some ID, which would be an update operation, or you delete. And all of these at the beginning here are HTTP level methods, HTTP methods, /t/ID. So that's basic. Create, read, update, delete. was it remove? I think it's delete, right? That would be kind of the restish style. In GraphQL, you basically only have post, or you only leverage post, but then internally you decide between queries and you decide between queries and mutations. Queries, everything that is basically handled by get, and mutations, all the other ones. But you're much freer in what you want to use. In fact, we're gonna basically stick to this here, to this formula. So our mutations are not going to be too difficult, I don't think. But let's see how it goes. So this time it worked, apparently. npm run start :dev. The first thing that I'm probably going to do is go into package.json and rename this one into dev, because I'm just so used to that it's called dev that it's very hard to change, and I don't even want to change at that point. So we have started our API at this point. So far nothing GraphQL-ish happens there. So if we go here, we can say, for example, console.log server running on localhost or http://localhost 3000. If we save, it restarts since we're using the watch command, and then I can just click here and we have our basic API. So now let's get into GraphQL, or let's get shortly into basics of NestJS. A typical NestJS application is you basically have the HTTP request coming in. It first hits a controller, which then passes it to a service, which then works with the database and entities. So that's the typical NestJS thingy. With NestJS GraphQL, this is pretty much the same. The request comes in, but instead of having a controller, you now have a resolver, because that's the GraphQL terminology. But it's pretty much the same as the controller, and it will, in fact, look very, very similar. So, yeah. Then let's add some GraphQL, huh? I would say. There we go. Let's move this one to here and stage that one. So it says, first of all, install some stuff. Well, NestJS GraphQL, we install, of course, GraphQL. That's pretty much obvious. Apollo Server Express. So we're leveraging the Express JavaScript standard server. And on top of that sits NestJS, but on top of that, or between both now, also sits Apollo. And Apollo is a very famous server implementation that wraps, or that handles GraphQL APIs. One of maybe the famous one, I would even say. So that didn't work. The copy command didn't trigger. There we go. Let's install all of those. And then things are going to get interesting, I suppose. Well, we do have to make some setups, but then we can actually start with the very first one. Inside of the app module, we first of all have to import this GraphQL module. There we go. So that we actually can leverage all the GraphQL stuff. The app module being kind of the root element in our component tree or module tree inside of NestJS. So debug faults, no, not necessary. And with that, we can actually already start something, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Oh, rejection. Bum, bum, rejected. A polyserver requires either an existing schema, modules, or type diffs. All right. So now it gets interesting. The NestJS GraphQL supports basically two modes. One being mode A is being you write code and it generates the so-called GraphQL schema. GraphQL schema is basically the definition of your API. It's one file. They have a specific domain, specific language defined for that. Let me see. Yeah, I think we need this one. And we will see that in a second. And the other one is you write the GraphQL schema by hand, and then you generate code. Let's see the names of this. So they call this one the code first approach, and I think this one is the schema first approach. We will be looking at this one, the code first approach. Is that still clearish? And so it automatically generates the schema for us. All we need to do is basically just say, yes, create it somewhere. For example, just create it right where we are. Like, I think we can just say this. Now if we restart, it hopefully generates the schema. No, because it's probably empty. Query root type must be provided. Yeah, probably because we haven't written any GraphQL specific code. It says, okay, you must at least have something. That's fine. We should be able to do that fairly quickly. Schema first we don't do. Schema for let's see. So somewhere we have to write our first thing. Can we do this? Do we have already cats? No, we don't. Okay. So I think then what just happened? Let's generate a resource. We checked that out earlier. So we can say, for example, nest with a nest CLI installed. Nest generate a resource. For example, T. And I think it should be plural. But I might be wrong. And now we can actually say, oh, do you want to have a REST API? Do you want to have a code first GraphQL API, which is what we want? Schema first, or even non-HTTP stuff, which is probably, I haven't checked that one out. I guess it will be leveraging event-driven architecture or WebSockets even. We can even create a WebSockets API with just this, or at least the scaffolding for that. So let's take code first. I do want to generate CRUD endpoints, so create, read, update, delete. And it creates a lot of files here, at least 2000 bytes that I didn't have to write now. Most importantly, we can look at the T entity, which is and entity is, I would say, even the wrong word. Actually, it's just the basically the DTO, the data transfer object, but on a read level. That's why, for the time being, let's call this one TDTO instead. And we remove everything on here and then see what else do we have. So we have the module, which includes in our case not the controller and the servers, but the resolvers and the servers. So these are our endpoints, and this is the main logic. We next have the resolver TS, which looks already quite filled. What you can see here is we have create, we have read, so find all, find one. We have update, and we have delete, remove. And then you also see the part that I talked at the beginning. We have the split between queries, things that do not change anything, but you only get stuff, and essentially setters. So queries being the getters, and the setters being the mutations. Mutations taking the create, update, and delete part, and the read is the query, or two in fact, because one you get all, or you get one specific one. And all of that is generated for us. So what I want to do here is actually switch from T over to TDTO, so that we actually really split between database and GraphQL API level. So welcome to the new people in chat. Say hi there. How are you doing? We are looking at NestJS as well as GraphQL. And we just started. Basically, we bootstrapped the project, the NestJS project, leveraging the NestJS CLI. And so what is NestJS? It's a framework for JavaScript APIs. We installed the GraphQL, the basic GraphQL stuff, and we added, generated one specific resource, the T's, because that's what we're here for, right? Cheers, everybody. Yeah, and I think I only copied like one line of code into actual, or 2 lines of code so far that I've actually written myself, which are these 3. That's what I wrote. Everything else was generated so far. So you're right on time, basically. Say hi there in chat, please. Always welcome. So, let's maybe look at it from outside. I think we can actually start with something, or we might get into trouble on the. You do not have. You do. I didn't save. Okay, save. So now it's running on 3000. I do want to say, so GraphQL maybe \n, GraphQL on http :/localhost 3000/GraphQL. That comes out of the box, and we can just go here, and we're banned. There we go. You see, I did fiddle around with it before. So unlike usually, where I don't have any idea and I just like, let's do this together. This time I kind of have an idea. And we can use, for example, this query. So I can write query, and it has to have a name. Can be anything. My query, for example. And then you put curlies, and you can say, oh, there's T. So auto-completion works here. You can just control space inside of here, and then you see a lot of useful information. So what I probably want, because we don't have any T's created just yet, I just want to list all the T's that we have. Yeah, and that doesn't work because our service, so it errors, internal server error, expected an iterable. That's because we didn't change anything on the servers. And the servers actually is still... you see here, well, we don't really return T objects. We instead only return, well, strings, which is not really useful. But what we can do here right now is can just say create a new T, find all, returns only an empty array. This dude here, let's say it returns null. I think it's possible. We can, by the way, whenever you want to see the schema from a, this is very, very useful, by the way, for the front-end people. You can just click here on the right-hand side and see the actual schema. And we see that, for example, T definitely returns a TDTO and not null. So we have to say something like new TDTO, sorry. Currently they are equal, but let's take those first. Update. Update should also return a TDTO, so let's just say new TDTO again, and remove as well. And from then on, our endpoints should at least work, if I'm not mistaken, in a very, very basic form. So we do the T's query again, and we want to have the example field, which is on the thing. Well, it returns just what we specified, namely nothing. So now comes one of the part that you cannot do with REST. You can actually, within this one HTTP request that you're actually sending, you can request multiple things. So for example, we can request a T, so my fake ID, and then we say, give me the example field. Why do you not like this? Int cannot represent non-integer value fake ID. Okay. Then let's say just 1. And we have it mocked out right now. So it just returns as a new TDTO currently. So what does it say? It cannot return null for non-nullable field TDTO example field. Just for the time being, let's just say this is 0 as default, and this should work now. Yeah, there we go. So with example fields, it's not very, very interesting, right? So let's actually implement at least something. And I did manually basically split up the entity, which I think of as the domain object, or at least as a database object, and the API object. So those might be different. And you might, for example, a user might internally have a password field, but you would, for example, never, or password hash field, but you don't want to send the password hash on the API, right? So in that case, it does make sense to split them, or at least not expose everything. You could have the same. So you could unite the DTO and the data transfer object and the entity. But for the time being, let's not do that. Let us name it. So let's give it a name. What else do we want to have on the well, let's write it here. So we give it a name, which is a string. So I'm now on the data transfer object, and to give GraphQL the information that it should actually include this in the schema. So currently we see here a TDTO only has example field. To give GraphQL the information that it should be included here. So if I save this, it runs, but even if I refresh here, the schema doesn't still have the name. Still doesn't have. But what we can do, or what we must do, is this add field. And then we can save in the name. In the case of strings, this works without anything else. If we I don't even have to refresh, I didn't know that. There it is. Or we can give it, let's see, a description, English name of the T. Save. And there we go. So that definitely works. Now we can, for example, give ourselves the T name as well. Of course, it says it's a non-nullable field. If we want to make it nullable, we can also do that by just saying, well, make it nullable. In that case, we probably also want to say this is optional on the GraphQL level, on the TypeScript level. Otherwise, TypeScript doesn't know about it. So you have to keep these two and think. The TypeScript type as well as this decorator. That's one unfortunate part, that because, well, most of the types actually get stripped out at runtime. You kind of have to do it that way. So if we do this now, we see name is null. Oh, nice. Ta-da-ta-dum. We can, of course, if we remove this again, we might as well go to in here and say const DTO is equal to this dude. We say DTO.name is equal to my favorite T, and then we return the DTO. Save. And there we go. There it is. So any questions so far? Feel free to comment. How have you been? How was your day? My day was interesting. I did work on authorization stuff. Okay. And that's a fun world to see. So now let's continue. Next, what do we want? We probably want to do some more things here. What else does a T have? If you have any suggestions, then feel free. Maybe a price, if we want to sell T. This might be a number, for example, and we have to now use something important. So you would hope that this is working. So if we give it a description, and you say this is, well, price of the price in US dollar, save. But the unfortunate truth is this becomes a float. Interesting. Why does this now work? So usually you would need to do, because with float it again works, but it doesn't work with integers. So in case of GraphQL, there are actually two types for numbers. One being one being integers, int, and one being floats. And numbers in GraphQL in TypeScript at this point, inside of this framework here, get mapped to floats. So in this case, we don't even need to write this, and it still works. But up here, to have example fields be an integer, it must be int here. And we have to write this this mapper basically describing what type it is. Let me maybe just ever so slightly NestJS plus GraphQL refresh the to-dos up here so that new people can actually have an idea of what we're doing. Bootstrap NestJS GraphQL project. Refresh to-dos. So that's what we're doing. So we can check that out. It should currently say the schema. Example field is an int. Okay, cool. If we remove this, oops, there was one bracket too much. Then it should switch to float now, what I expect. Come on, you can do it. Ah, the server went down. Oh, interesting. Undefined type error. Ah, in this case they say you have to provide it explicitly. Interesting. I wonder why it works for... Ah, because we don't say number here. So if we do this, now it works. Interesting. But the linter wants to remove it. And now it's a float, I would expect. Yeah, now it's a float. You see here, the example field. So, but let's revert that change, and it should continue to be an integer. So we have a name, we have a price, we have best at temperature, which is a number, and it should be a field of, well, probably we don't want to have it in floats, but just in integers. Description. Oh, number of leaves is also a good idea. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. Ideal brewing temperature. So, maybe let's also use an array. So it must then be string, I suppose, and it must be an array, and we have to put the array around it, interestingly. Or can we just... Doesn't work without. So let's say some list of tags, and it's a string array. This he doesn't like. Undefined type. So in this case, do we have to use string, or is there another GraphQL string? Type GraphQL. So all of these guys here come from type GraphQL. String array. Simple types. So I suppose it's just the regular JavaScript string constructor. Let's see whether that works. Yeah, it works. And now it is, so this is slightly weird, I find. So it's string objects which are definitely defined, so they cannot be nulls. That's what the exclamation mark is for. And it's definitely also an array. It might still be an empty array, but it's not null. It's also not an array with nulls inside. But it can still be an empty array. Be aware of that. And it can still be an empty array with empty strings. but that might be just JavaScript weirdness together with GraphQL that they have had to adjust for. I guess that's good for now. Description maybe. Tags for searchability maybe. Free text tags for searchability. All right. Now, so far not much happened. But what we can do is we can take all of these dudes. Probably want to remove the example field now. And we can put them on the entity without the add field stuff. Be aware that you also need to have this add object type class decorator. So only add field is not enough. You also need this one for it to get picked up. So now we have the T entity and the TDTO, and now the service we can actually start writing, right? So let's say we have private T's here, which is just an array of T. And when we, for example, create some T, we say const T equals new T, like so, and then we say T.name is, well, create T input.name and so on. We probably have to write these as well. And then T.best temperature is like so, and T.this, we don't have a description. T.text equals create input.text and T.price is equal to that price. There we go. And then we return the T. So create T input is currently empty, and we have to define all of that fun stuff. I think in this case it's pretty much the same as this dude, right? So we might as well do that. Or, so this would be one way to do it, to just duplicate it, and then at times I think that's fine. But there is in fact something called partial type, I think. Yeah, from NestJS GraphQL, which we can leverage, and then we say this is the TDTO that we want to extend. Let's see. No, it's just an extension of the TDTO, right? That's it. Currently they are identical, so there's nothing to do extra. There are some stuff like you might be used to these few type utensils, for example pick, omit, and partial, and you can use those kind of as well, but you have to add type, omit type and pick type, and then you can use those to, for example, pick type of this little dude, import it. Maybe we can actually do that and make one of those. Let's see. Let's take the name, let's take best temperature, and let's take the price maybe. And now create TDTO should have all that we want except for tags. Perfect. So we could also have used an omit type, which is also fine. But let's just initialize this one to empty string, to empty array for the time being, so that we see something. All right. Then we say, okay, this dot t's dot push t. Why do you not like this? Because it's T, it must be T array. Find all just returns our T's, that we now currently only have in memory, but that's fine. The ID, we return this dot TSTT. So the ID is just the index for the time being. Update, we have to write again, I think. Okay. Update. So we pick the right T if, and in this case, let's actually say this is T or undefined. So let's do this dot find, so that the index is actually correct. I equals ID, and now this is not undefined, possibly. Okay, in that case we probably have to go to our tsconfig and say that we actually want to have strict mode, strict null checks. Yes, true. I think, do we have strict mode here? No. In that case, we definitely want to have strict mode. That's the true TypeScript. Strict bind call apply. I don't know what that means. Let's remove it for now. I do want to disable the implicit assignment, definite assignment. Strict property initialization false. That will, it's less errors on the TypeScript level, but there would be so many because the framework takes over so much that I would actually say in this case, okay. Otherwise we would have to write the exclamation mark each and everywhere. No implicit any. I absolutely don't want implicit any's. No fall through, blah blah, go away. So, and now everything seems to be alrightish. Create T input must have create T input. Didn't we? Interesting. I would have expected this to work. Surprise, surprise. So other features, generating mapped types. I think that's it. Wait, no, that works. So update user input apparently works like that. Takes a second argument that is a reference to a decorated factory. That's also fine, because this one has a decorator. Oh no, it doesn't. So can we provide the decorators here? Yeah. In that case, we probably have to provide input type here. And now it works. Yeah, okay. So the problem here was that this defines an input type, but the TDTO is actually an object type, which is a return, the returned DTO, the read DTO. And it didn't like that. So this one is important to fix that bug. So where were we? I think create T is good. Update we just don't do for the time being. No, we do. T is now T or undefined. If not T, throw new error, T not found. Yeah, let's say it like that. Otherwise, let's say t.name is update t input dot name, which is possibly undefined, so we don't need to override everything every time. What we can do is something like this. Then, come on, t dot as the temperature, that price as well, and otherwise we return the t. Maps, and possibly also the tags, t.tags. There we go. Update doesn't have it. So let's say we can update tags only via this, which is a string array, but it is possibly nullable. We have to say that as well. Or more like optional. Do we have the optional tag? No, we don't. Okay. That works. Yeah. So, and then we return it. Perfect. Remove should be a matter of, yeah, for example, filtering. And then we say this.t's returned. Wait, we do only want to. What is the schema of remove? So it should return a TDTO currently. We might we want to change that? We could just say this returns null. Or otherwise, yeah, let's just take that one. I think what we can use is splice. And then instead of doing this, we say we do want to splice the index by ID, and then we remove exactly one element, and then so this is in place, be aware of that, and that it returns the deleted elements, so const deleted t's, but in fact we only deleted. Does the destructure work if it's undefined? I'm actually not sure. Let's check. Note. So if we have, let's say 1, 2, 3, this array, and then we say x dot, so we want to destructure. It's destructuring a unit thing. Const a is equal to x dot splice. So we take, for example, 8 and 1, and then a becomes undefined. Okay, that works. And x is still the same. But if we use x dot splice of, for example, 1, 1, it should return the 2 because 2 is at index 1. Yeah. And this is now 3. Yeah, perfect. So this works. And then we say return deleted. Goodbye. So that works. It does have a problem right here now. You don't like the ID property on update. Did I remove that? I did, right? Yeah. We do want this to exist again. Bams, there we go. Import And now the ID is again there. And that one should be defined so that we have the identifier who we actually want to delete. So that works again. Is it also attached properly? Yeah, the good thing here is, I think, oh no, let's see. I think it might now fail because we are working on entities and not on DTOs. We did make the split, remember? So let's change it into we need the price, we need the best temperature, we need tags, and let's do something like this. It's empty. Well, that's not a surprise at this point. Stock. So let's create a T with a name and the price and best temperature. Whoa. What's happening? Best temperature. Temperature is what? An integer. So let's take 95 degrees. Cannot query field stock on type TDTO. Because I included that here. It doesn't exist, of course. What are you complaining about? What was that? So, prettier. They have Prettify inside of here, which is great. That's the temperature. There we go. So now we have peppermint tea. And we hopefully also see it inside of our teas. Yeah, it's there. We can also update peppermint tea. I think it has ID 0 now though. Let's say we provide tags and we say yummy tags, yummy summer, refreshing menthol, prettify. There we go. And if we refresh our T's query, it also works. And if we only take one specific T with ID 0, because the array is 0 based, and then we see exactly the same. Perfect. If we make a mistake here in one of the queries, it might fail for everything. Be aware of that. Bams. Okie dokie. You can also try to remove one. But I think we're good, right? So that's the very basics, right? That's the very basics. Now we can add the database level, I would say, with the help of NestJS type ORM I would use. And we are not going to use MySQL. We are using good old SQLite, because you don't have to have a server for that. Come on, why does copy not work? Type ORM, and I think it's SQLite 3. I'm not mistaken. So, how are you feeling so far? Are you good? Still everything alright on your side? It does provide 3 high-level issues because SQLite 3 is not the safest anymore, unfortunately. But from there we can introduce the database essentially. So app module. I think we can also just go to the basics. Was it fundamentals? Techniques maybe? Techniques database, there we go. So when we install type ORM, we do also need type ORM, NestJS type ORM. So, and then we can use this cool thingy here, which is what I want. I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So, import me, and then we change this one to SQLite, and we move all of this fun stuff. Now things get interesting. So type ORM is the object relational mapper, which takes care of talking to the database for us with the help of our entity here, which we, similar to what we have on the DTO, we will give it a lot of, for example, this one, a primary generated column, ID, which is a number, or we want to have it as a string, we can also do that. Yeah, so that makes it fairly simple. As soon as we use an entity here, and then we can provide columns, just the regular SQL stuff. Column, import me, that works, and column. We probably will to give it a length, I don't know, maybe at most 100 characters. The price is a float, I think. As the temperature is at column, is it int or is it integer? I think it's integer. Yeah. And tags is a string array. Now things get interesting. And column, string array to SQLite type ORM. Now, hopefully that works. So it says about Postgres, but if we're lucky, this also works in SQLite. I'm not sure, actually. Let's see. We will see. If it explodes, it explodes. If it doesn't explode, it doesn't explode. Oh, surprise, surprise. So we need to provide some more things here. So let's say I do want to synchronize at the very beginning, which means I don't have to really care about the migrations at the beginning. That just makes sense, because we don't really know what we want. I do want to provide this database file, which would then be created in a couple of minutes here. Kind of curious why. Because we have the kit inside of here. There we go. Oh, that looks better. Fortunately, we're kind of in the middle of things. That's unfortunate. And we do have to say where it finds the entities, which hopefully this works. We'll see in a couple of minutes. Did we write this one already finished? Yeah, we did. So if we start, let's see what explodes. Or did we forget something? There we go, it explodes. Data type array is not supported for SQLite databases. That's unfortunate. So Here's the int, floats, and texts is all it does. Yeah, SQLite is kind of limited. We kind of need to be aware of that. But I think what we can do is on store and so on. But for the time being, let's just make this a string, and we yeah, let's just make it a space separated string for the time being. Also on the DTO level, there we go. Is that it? I think the update needs that as well. Yeah. There we go with. Of course, that doesn't work anymore. So now it works again. We do have to do at least one more thing to actually use it, which is, so this looks goodish. Port, whatever. Don't need that. We do have for root. I think what we need is the type ORM integration on a feature level. There we go. Here we go. This is what I want. So the T's module, there we need to import kind of specific for one part of the application, which is in our case the T, the type ORM stuff, so that it can use it. So, whoa. With that, I think we're kind of set. We of course need to update the service. Not app service, T service. Because currently, well, it only ever works on this kind of boring in-memory thing. But we want to persist stuff. Let's write a constructor, and we can say this is a add inject repository of T, and we say, well, this is our T's. I do not like this one. You have to include it. Perfect. And now we have T's, well, a connection to the database essentially. And well, we construct the T object. That's just fine. I think all we need to do is do something like yeah, something like this dot T's dot this is not T. It's a repository, dude. And this is a repository of T. Aha, that looks better. Now we say save. Well, save the T. Saves the T. And we do get a return value. And we probably want to just return this one. It just happened. This one. So one nice little feature that we can do is following this dot T's dot create which will copy all the input. So. Yeah, that worked. Then we don't need to do this and this and this, but this we still need to do, which is slightly easier. Now, next one, we return find, and you just find all of them. Find one is this.t.find one or fail, because on our schema we said that, well, T always returns this exclamation mark here is important. It's probably too small for you to read. There's an exclamation mark here. So we absolutely don't allow undefined here, so that's why I use find one or fail. Update. See, what do we do with it? We can say this.t.update. Updates entity partially. Entity can be found by the given condition. Unlike save method executes a primitive operation without cascades, relations, blah blah blah. Okay, I think that works. We take the ID as an identifier, and we wait. ID is not a number anymore. ID is not a number anymore. Rather than that, we can just say this is a input here. There we go. And that's already it. Done. Yeah, property ID is not compatible, it says. And that's why we have to actually change this into string, or we change it on the entity level. Let's take UUIDs. It's more realistic, I think. So this one can go away. We can do something like this here, I think. So GraphQL has a specific, basically an alias for string, which is called ID, which signifies that it should be an identifier, a unique one, instead of just a random string. But it's basically still just a string, also on GraphQL level. So that's one. The create doesn't have that. The TDTO doesn't expose any of that. But we might as well, right? At field ID. Now we say ID, which is a string. There we go. So let's get back to our server. So we can find T, we can find one, we can find all, we can create one, we can find one, we can update, and we now have to remove. So this dot t's dot probably find one or fail by ID. Const t is equal to this one, and then we say this dot t's dot delete. I think we can just provide the object itself. T. No, not good. We have to wait. Oops. Yeah. Wait. And then we can return the T. To delete. Was on the promise. We definitely have to wait this here. result. Do we have the raw, the SQL query, affected? No, we don't. Okay. Needed. Don't forget to await. That would be annoying. So that's that. Now where do we have issues? Update string is not assignable to number. Update still wants a number. That's wrong. Update should be a string. You should also be a string. And remove should also be a string. Now we actually duplicated. we doubled the amount of errors that we had. You should not be an int. You should be just a string, and we can just do this then. String. You should also be a string. Save. You are already a string, perfect. And that's that. And I think now we have persistence. No, maybe not. String cannot represent a non-string value 0. Wow. Where did that happen? Okay. This one. Ramps. Could not find any entity. That's good. That's good. That's promising. So getting an empty array already works. Let's create a T. Bams. I probably should have included the ID. There we go. That looks good. And let's try to get that one. Yeah, it works. It works. So next one we can maybe please. Let's say we want to mutate update, and we say, well, update the T, update T input, and we change by ID. Maybe let's include the ID here, and the one that I did double, this one. Let's change that one up. Let's make the name into Valerian root, and let's make the best temperature to Valerian root brewing temperature 90 degrees. 90 degrees Celsius. 90 degrees. Where are we? Here we are. So this is 90. And we say, well, text, let there be light. This is herbal tea. It's calming. And it's healthy maybe also. No. Is there tea that's not healthy? We have to get something in return. So let's take all of this fun stuff. That didn't work. Cannot perform update query because update values are not defined. Okay. What is the error here? Update. 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 So cannot perform update query because update values are not defined. Is the problem that we have to do this? No, it's not. So what is the problem? Const e acknowledge input, and let's just put this one here and say run start debug. Go for it. Also, we can go into git ignore for just a second and say, well, custom, we don't want to have db.sqlite inside of there. Can you refresh, please? Thank you. So, debugger is running. Let's do this, and there we are. So, it has bested temperature, it has an ID, and it has a name. Do we even need to do this, or can we just say, nah, doesn't work. Let's try to find out. Google, my good friend. Man, that's low. That's a long one. One too many. Can we do something like this maybe? So T entity update, no. I hope that it was that we can provide something like update false, as he is saying here. But that doesn't work, that doesn't exist at least. So he's also asking about it, and then together with where should we use cascade? I don't see the cascade part. Let's try that. Module. No, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we getting this error? Query the partial entity. The second parameter. Query. Do we have anything else here? Do we have merge? Merges multiple entities or entity-like object into a given entity. That might also work. So we do first const. Nah, that's not what I want, right? Soft delete, soft remove, restore, blah blah blah, update. Huh. Do we have any other information here? Not really. Well, in that case, let's do it like this. Const t is find one fail, then we merge the two together. We have to await this. Is this in place or does it return one? It returns one. Const updated t, and then we say save the updated t. Merged into entity. Okay, so this one is in place. I think we can do something like this. Let's restart the server. Yay, that worked. Sweet. And you also see that we have actually persistence. Yay, persistence. Why are you always so persistent? It's persistent, right? Anyway, very good. Very happy with that. Let's put into git ignore also the schema.gql, but we don't need that. It gets regenerated anyway. Do I already have it here? Yes, it is inside of there. Yeah. And other than that, that looks very promising. So, what do we have now already? Let's say init. We have a NestJS GraphQL thingy. Episode 44. So 44. NestJS GraphQL with type ORM. GraphQL API with type ORM. And SQLite. This is what we got so far. Now, short break, stretching for just a second. Yeah. For just a second. So what do we want to do next? I would say we check out NestJS query, because then things start to speed up a lot. This was still very low level what we did. With NestJS query, wow, a lot of stuff happens all of a sudden. So let's check that one out. But yes, it's only a block for whatever reason. So that's the URL. Getting started. And it has a couple of packages, in fact. What we want, and let me, just for the lols, let's take Lighthouse. Oh no, not the time and so on. We just want accessibility. I think this is terrible from an accessibility perspective. I can't even really read it. Yeah, no sufficient contrast. All of these blues, I cannot read them pretty much. Well, just have to zoom enough, I guess. Yeah, so, well, it's built on top of NestJS, and what it does, it brings you CRUD operations like super intensely fast and together both on the API level. Wow, the camera is terrible today, the lighting. Both on the API level, on the GraphQL level, but also it integrates with TypeOM super easily. And we write so little code and get all of a lot of stuff automatically. Out of the box subscriptions and also stuff like filterable fields, pagination, all of that without us writing much code at least. So let's go to installation. We do want. Can we take the second one here? I think it is included here. Yeah, that'd be good. So, what do we install? Man, NestJS query stuff for query GraphQL. NestJS/common, which we already have, so we don't need that. Again. We already have NestJS GraphQL. We also have GraphQL. We might as well add GraphQL subscriptions. Class transformer and class validator are two libraries. In particular, class validator allows you to write validation with the help of decorators. And data loader, I have no idea. Data loader npm. Generic utility to be used as part of your application's data fetching layer to provide a simplified and consistent API over various remote data sources such as databases or web services via batching and caching. Fairly popular, I gotta say, and small, particularly for something in the backend. Often used apparently with GraphQL. Well, let's do it. Still not 100% sure what it does or how it works, but nevertheless. Maybe we find out in the project. And I actually did want to include also this one. TypeOM query GraphQL, because with this it gets ridiculously simple. Well, not simple, but little code, let's say it like this. That's still our SQLite being bad, so I can accept that part. And then let's get into it. GraphQL, I suppose we start with. Getting started. TOs. So there is one setup step that I'm fairly sure that we have to do. Oh, we don't. Okay, because we do it like that. Is there no root? No. Okay. All right. Let's add, maybe we add non-t. So nest generate a resource called non. Oh, I think, let me see. I think there was an example inside of here that we can pretty much use. Example? Aha! There we go. So let's follow this example. So first of all, we use Nest to generate a module. And let's say we call it non-t, aka coffee. Non-t. Then create an entity. We create the DTO and then we wire things up. Do we need all of that? Let's see. I think we can actually just throw out a couple of things and then we're also good. So no need to do this and that. Non-t, please go away again. Neat. And what I want to do is basically replace the resolver files completely. The way we do this, we go inside of the module and then replace. Can I copy? Thank you. The type ORM module, we replace that with query GraphQL module on the one hand and with another type ORM module. So we kind of have we have things nested inside of here now, interestingly. For feature, T, well, the DTO class is the TDTO and the entity is our T. Save. And now I'm actually going to throw out the T part. The resolver part, which is interesting now. If we restart, let's see whether that works or not. So this file is now completely unused. That one doesn't work. No fields found to create GraphQL filter for TDTO. TDTO. Did we miss something? Do we need a filterable field? T. That one he doesn't like. Let's say we make this one into a filterable field. Does he like that one? Now he likes it. Okay, interesting. So we do have to provide at least one filterable field, apparently. That's the wrong one. So now cannot query field name on type T connection. Yeah, we do have to change our query now. I have to reload. And now things look different here. T's are now not immediately the level below that. It's not just the T. We have something like page info. And we have edges. Page info, for example, the most important one, or maybe not. Edges. We have the nodes, which are the actual T. And now we see this is T, right? Key, name, ID, price, method, temperature, and tags maybe. And then do it, and we still see the same, except that now it's more nested, unfortunately. Can we? Wasn't there something like total results? Apparently not. One cool thing now is we can actually start, for example, filtering, and we can start sorting with out of the box basically. Filtering, for example, tags. Let's say I think it includes this like. I'm not sure. SQLite like cases and no. So we can use like apparently. Okay. So like we now basically write database queries. So what we want is something like for example purple. And then we see this narrows down only to this one. Let's maybe update our friend the other T. Where's my peppermint? Need the ID here. You, my friend. So we throw this one out, we throw that one out, and we say this one is refreshing, and mint, and also healthy, let's say. Healthy. Go for it. Cannot query field update T on type mutation. And yes, the mutation also comes now with the help of query, NestJS query, I bet. Update. There we go. Did that work? You go there. You go away. I have a feeling we're short, or we have too many parentheses now. Can we prettify that? No, cannot. So ID is the identifier. Update. Do I have to put a code out there? Ah, okay. Let's do the update. Now that also works. And if we still look for herbal, well, it finds our Valerian root. If we look for healthy, we should find both. There we go. And all of that out of the box. Basically, we throw all away. In fact, we can throw away the complete service, and we can throw away the complete resolver, and it still works. Look at it. There we go. It still works, which is amazing to be honest. I mean, what did we do? We added these 3 lines here. We added the DTO, we added the entity, and the rest is just magically happening, which I find to be quite something. create one T. Then we provide input, and what do you need? T. Tup, 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 tup. So let's create another T. Let's say green tea, and the price is $9.99. Nested temperature, green tea temperature. Celsius. 75. Let's say 80. It would have also been my initial guess, by the way. And let's include the tags here again. SQLite constraint. Not null constraint on tags. So entity, you are allowed to be this. Or do we have to say, let's see. String. Oh, you don't like that. Data type string in tags is not then varchar, or what's it called? Varchar, varying char. SQLite, come on. SQLite list of types. Text, thank you. There we go. Yep, so that works. Now we can, for example, update it. Our green tea. It's, let's say, it's grassy. It's also healthy. It's caffeine. There we go. And it's also healthy, of course. And there it is. Yay! It just works. And we didn't write a single line in our service. Can I even remove this one? It's still working. There we go. Everything's still working. There is nothing in our resolver. Everything is just taken over for us. So one thing that might be obvious, that you might be like, okay, so simple, why there must be a tick or something that's not nice. One very important part is authorization, but that's also actually handled. That's what I'm currently working on, to be honest. And also fairly well, to be honest. So, for example, if you don't have access to one specific T, and you get all the list of all T's, it just filters out the specific one, still returning all the others, which is just amazing. But we will not. I will probably not do that now. Except we can actually add authorize, let's say, and it receives authorize, and then inside of this I think it has to be a function, right? Type any. Let's look here. So authorize is correctly imported. It has to be a function that does stuff. Context, any, for the time being. Are we missing something? Why are you complaining? Owner DTO does not exist on TDTO. That's perfect. So it's actually also kind of type safe. And what we do now here is we can filter for specific stuff. For example, we can say that the name is like he doesn't like. Oh. Oh, because it's unknown. Like the string. Okay, like doesn't work. What do we have? Between, for numbers greater than or equal, not equal. In, can we use in? Check that if it's included in an array of values. We don't have arrays, so unfortunately that's not a thing. Well, let's take equal, and we say if green tea, then you should expose it, otherwise don't. And with this you can of course also so here you would, for example, have your basically your request.user somewhere on the context .request.user, which is kind of the standard on everything that's based on Express, or one of the things that you often see. And for example, it has a list of roles, and then you can just inside of this authorize function, you can just that was not the right thing. You can just say, for example, if hello Dave, good to see you. How are you doing? Let me just finish the thought here. So we can say, for example, something like, if it includes, if the user is an admin, then just return everything. Oh, I think you do it with an empty object which matches everything. And every other user only sees green tea, for example. So that's surprisingly flexible for authorization as well. Let's see that it actually works. We should now see only the green tea, is my hope. There it is. And you see also that the others don't really fail, they just return null now, which is cool. So if we change this to peppermint, multi-cursor, peppermint. How's your evening or day going? Do I say de heave correct? Because double E is E. Or de heave. Maybe Netherlands speech. It might be the haven. Say it how you like it. Okay, the heave. I will say then. Yeah, and now we see the peppermint because we only match the peppermint in the authorization now. That's pretty rad, I must say. Maybe we can make the price filterable so that users can, for example, we have to refresh. Now the filter should use the price here, and the price should be something like, for example, greater or equal, greater than 1.0. Just started out coding using BlueJ.
has joined our tea time.
First of all, welcome to our tea time. Have a cup of tea. So, Java development. Any tips in general about programming? Be curious. It's probably the number one tip, and just enjoy that you're creating, even if it's only step by step, that you start creating something. It takes a lot of practice, I gotta say, but it can also be very, very rewarding. Like at some point you might be creating a website or an application for your mobile phone. Getting to that point is a journey, but it is also a lot of fun. So just be curious. Try to see the things that repeat instead of just looking at one specific part. So like, of course you could, for example, learn how to do once, like, I don't know, how to repair heater. But what you probably want to, when you look at how to repair heaters, what you probably want to learn is how to repair mechanical objects, kind of the underlying patterns. So that's one thing that helped me a lot in the process. And don't be afraid to ask questions, both to other people. Stack Overflow is your friend. But when you look at Stack Overflow, try to understand why it's working. Even if you copy the answer, for example, this one, just copy paste here, look at whether it works. Okay, it works. If it works, go back and try to understand why it works. What are we doing here that makes it work? So that you always keep learning and building on top of the stuff that you have. Yeah, but it's a great journey. Coding is so much fun, I can tell you. Been doing it for. I actually started with Blue J, but my teacher always said Blue G, even though it's a J. He wasn't so good in English, so he thought it's a G, or the letter J is pronounced G. You will probably at some point switch to something better than Blue J. No, I start using it. It's fine. And all of a sudden you don't have the system tells you, for example, oh, you have to insert a semicolon at the end of the line. Thank you. The math structure. Good to see you. Very good on the math side. I'm doing good. How are you doing? So you're a mathematician, also interested in coding, I guess, because originally I'm a mathematician. Yeah. So the Heave, that's I think the number one tip. Just be curious, ask a lot of questions, try to understand try to remember and understand the underlying parts, why you do something like that, and be very, very curious. You're doing very well, yeah. I'm a mathematician and introduced lately to code. Sweet. Still in university, or are you an actual mathematician in the real world? The step that I've never managed to do. For me, it was like university, math, start coding, math, and then over to coding to get actual money. Enjoying university. University has become quite different, I suppose, in Corona times. We had quick questions on Node.js. You are using Mongoose to define a schema for connection on code. Why I tried to switch to Node MongoDB native. Okay. So where's the question? I suppose you're still writing. But very good. Yeah, we're actually using Mongoose in our other project that we have. Now the question is, how can I redefine the same Mongoose schema with MongoDB native. You do not define a schema with MongoDB native. Basically, you just use it. Are you using JavaScript or are you using TypeScript? So basically, if you have you probably have something like Mongo client is equal to, I don't know, or something like .connect somewhere, and then you save that as the client, and then you can just start working on it with native MongoDB. If you're just using JavaScript in particular. You were looking to save your collection schema every time you run. So you're trying to basically rebuild Mongoose. So the basic idea of MongoDB would be you don't have a schema. You just rely on yourself remembering that, what you saved into the database might have, for example, an ID. Well, it definitely has a subscript ID, but maybe you have also said client dot, I don't know, insert, and then you provided ID or something like name, test, and hello one. What? Discrimination, I mean, is just to get the collection data type defined in code. I missed one. Yes, I'm working with native MongoDB. Now got the connection successful, but I'm trying to create a model for data manipulation. You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to. You just say insert. Maybe with an await before that, but that's all. You don't have a schema in native Mongo, in pure Mongo. Yeah. So if you're directly working on the Mongo client without Mongoose, then you don't have a schema. So you can just insert stuff. You probably have connected to a specific collection. So probably somewhere inside of here, there's also something like collection is equal to client.db.connection. Yeah, and then you just start inserting stuff and writing stuff and reading stuff. You don't have a schema in pure Mongo, which is a plus for when you want to go fast and you can actually remember what you save into the database. But it's a minus if you want to work in a team. Somebody might write something that another person doesn't know about. Or there's stuff in the database that something should be defined, but for whatever reason, name is all of a sudden it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there was a mistake. Yeah. Then to rechange my mind, now I will not need to create a model for defining the data types. No, you just write in Mongo. It's really direct. You connect to the MongoDB server. You pick a database and a collection. It should be code something like this, I think. And then you start writing, inserting, updating, whatever you do. It is simpler and directer, right? Whether can you say director? I don't know, more direct. Yeah, that's why people love MongoDB, I think, because it's so straightforward. as soon as you have the connection. There's probably an await inside of here, I think, as well, when you try to connect. Yeah, sure. Glad you're here with us and that I could answer your question. Yeah. So when maybe you're interested why you would put a schema on top of that? The reason is team scalability, essentially. When 20 people work on the same database and nobody knows what's inside of the actual database because everything somebody wrote 3 years ago an insert and then the code was changed and now the insert is completely different and the user looks completely different, and you try to, for example, read just the birth date, but at some point 3 years ago we said birthday is something like new date dot or something like 2021 01 T 12 something like that, which is an ISO date, but then 2 weeks later somebody said, I don't like ISO dates, let's change this into a number, like since the very beginning, like 9 million or something, 9 million milliseconds since 1970. But then somebody comes and says, okay, I want to have the user, and says await collection.find1 by name 1 2 3 4 5. And then says, well, user is a number, right? Birthday dot so it's a number. What can you do? You can say plus equals 100. Or let's say 3600, which is then 1 day later, I suppose. Yeah. But maybe the user was already there. And this is not a number, but in fact, it's the stuff that we had before. This 2021 01 T something. And then you do this on that user because the developer didn't know about it. And then you do this. What is the result of that? Well, JavaScript can still do it, which might actually be worse, because what you will see is that Node, say we have this string here plus equals or plus 3600. Well, there you have it. It's now the 1st of January 21, something 3600. Because JavaScript turns this into a string and then it gets concatenated. In this case, it still works. It might still be worse if there's something like an object plus 3600. Of course, that's 3600. Had to ask another question from experience. Now, if we have a calendar view on UI, which should show the queried event names from database collection, which should be a calculated date range, as you assume there would be. Wow. Let me copy that and try to figure it out. I was actually here. Thanks for the
joined our tea
for the
time.
follow. Welcome to our tea time. I talked so much. Let me just drink a sip here. So we have a calendar view. It shows queried event names. Basically, so you're thinking about, can I think about Google Calendar? Inside of there you have events, and it shows the show thing Google Calendar. Is that okay if I do that in terms of queried event names? The events basically have a date, or a start and an end, I suppose. Events, start and end. Dates, or date times. You assume there would be an event that can span 3 days in a certain month, so that you can, so as you know, yeah, something like that, but UI is not my problem. You can spend 3 days in a certain month, so that you, as you know, MongoDB uses ISO date, but the problem is, how can I retrieve that back on an API result that should be an array of day and month? You probably want to transform it then. So you do something like, what did we do here? Collection.find, and then you have your event, right? Which probably has an ID. Is that right? So 1st October event X. Are you using Express on the as a server? Or are you just querying from the front end? Which, fair enough. at the beginning it definitely works. Probably not the safest solution, but it gets you started. So question, are you using Express.js? If we have a collection, you can try to save event name, start date and end date, for example. Yeah. So basically, so what I think about is, you have this here, right? app.get /events, let's say. You have request and response, and maybe next. Then you start doing stuff. What you probably do is, let's say you get yourself one specific event. Yeah, for some simplicity. Maybe something like request.param at ID, or is it params? I don't know. Something like that. And then you get a specific event, or undefined. So this is the event or undefined. This is not JavaScript, this is TypeScript, be aware of it. This part will not be relevant for you if you use JavaScript. And when you now send back the result, you can transform it, of course. So you can say something like transform event is equal to, well, give me an object. I do want the event ID. And let's say I still want the event name, but for start, let's see, you want it in this form. You want to transform it like that. I see, you do it like that. Yeah. Well, you can do any transformation that you like here. So for example, you can say, you probably then currently use find, and you just query all the events, let's say. which is you may or the API with a month and year. Do you just get the names back without the month, or do you have something like month and then request dot param month? Is it query dot param, or I don't know? Is that a query? This one might be slightly different. What I don't see is how your event names only. How do you get the date then? It seems you need a mapping from request.params. Okay, perfect. You seem to need a mapping between the event and the event date or the event time, but you did say that you have it as an ISO date. How does this event look like? So it probably has an ID or subscript ID, maybe. It has a name, which is or if you have an example, feel free to post it in the chat. Or if you have a paste bin, that works as well. So one very useful tool in particular on Twitch is pastebin. You just write your code inside of here. You can, I think you are allowed to post the link. And if you use this service, I will actually click on the link. If you don't use that service, I will probably not click on it. and it's that blocked. For safety's sake, right? There are too many people on Twitch that are not good. So if you write name, is it an array? And date, day. So that's what you save in the database. Isn't that perfect? So if this is really if this is really the event, probably you use these because these are properties, I suppose. If it's an array, you can still do it. You just use event at position 1, then you would get the name. 0, and then you get the name, and 1 would be the day. I suppose it's an object, because, well, objects are easier to work with typically. What you can do is you can just do request.send, and then you say, for example, well, you want to transform it, right? You have a list of all events. Interface event. Save. Oh, things. It works. So, TypeScript help us here, please. So you have a list of events, right? So that's an array. What you get returned. I think maybe you have to do something like toArray, but I might be wrong. And then you can start transforming it. What you can do is, have you looked into map, array.map, maybe? Array.map. It's basically a for loop, or you can also just use a for loop. For constant event of event, you can do stuff. So let's say const result is an array. And now, well, you want it in this format, right? You can say result.push. Let's see. First you use event.day, and then you can use result.push event.name, and then you have it exactly in this format. Yeah, map is just a fancy for loop. just use your regular for loop for the time being. And then you send the result. Maybe JSON, maybe send, whichever you prefer. Depends on how the front end gets it. And then you get it in pretty much this format, except that it will look more like this. And then that. And then, well, the same for the second and so on. How to query that from the MongoDB, specifically working with date and time to find out the event name. Ah, you mean the range? Querying in the range. That's a good question. I cannot. Let me Google that for you. Query filter by date range. Probably what you want. You can use greater than, equal, and less than. That's probably the resource that you want. And then you probably don't need created at, but instead the regular, the stuff that you have, the day, I think. Yeah, day it is. But other than that, this looks pretty promising. Be aware that you need those dollars. That's specific to MongoDB syntax. You see that quite often. Also, when you update something and so on, you always use this dollar for whenever you specify something basically on the MongoDB level. By dynamics here, which mean handling the query from param entered in API. Yeah, you can access those with something like this, I think. Or you can, maybe it even works if you just do .month. That might actually work as well. Where is that visible? Yeah. Yeah, so the dynamics come in here. Apparently you will need to serialize your dates into a format that MongoDB supports. So if this one is not an ISO date, so the ISO that I'm talking about is ISO 8601. ISO meaning the standard, and these are these formats here. These are basically the standard formats. You might need to do something like new date of this dude dot to ISO string. And you probably also want to validate that this one is an actual date. But I leave that to you. The validation part. The validation is fun. But one step at a time. One step at a time. Yeah, and this then gives you a proper ISO string. It might, if your request didn't send it properly, then this might result in something like invalid date. Then probably you have problems. So make sure that the parameter actually works. Console log is your friend. Does that make sense? I used to search for a library called Moment.js to query for time range. With MongoDB, it's not necessary, let's say it like that. Moment.js makes things simpler, yeah. Particularly when you start working with time zones and like, you definitely want something not native JS dates. The Heave, are you still there? Sorry, we kind of switched the topic here. And got a little deeper in the Node.js and MongoDB stuff. MongoDB is a database. If you're interested in that, I feel it's pretty interesting idea. What exactly? Which idea? So I like a project, definitely. It's great that you try to learn more. So good job on that one. Good job, everybody. I repaired that one. Have some tea. Yeah, so that's just great. Also that you try to do something yourself and not just follow tutorials. That's, I think, where you start understanding the stuff that you're doing. When you run into those problems, you start discussing with people. You try to figure out a solution somehow. Why does it not work now? Why does it work if you use something like that? Then yeah, glad I was able to help you. It was getting kind of boring because nobody was on the street so far. Yeah, enjoy coding. I will enjoy my tea, absolutely. You don't need to tell me that. Yeah, by the way, we're building a T API. If you ever have enough of Express, you can kind of upgrade to NestJS. And if you have enough of JavaScript, fuck up, I said it, then you might try to upgrade to TypeScript, which is, well, we're the TypeScript tea time here. TypeScript is basically sitting on top of JavaScript, so it's a compiled language, unlike you can also probably convert it into Unix timestamp. That's, I think, to time or get time, maybe. I think. So Unix timestamp, the milliseconds since the beginning of time, which is the 1st of January 1970. Just a random date which they choose. Well, TypeScript, I love it. JavaScript with syntax for types. It looks very, very similar, but you can define more things. You get much more autocompletion, and I just love it for that. For example, here events. Usually JavaScript doesn't know, but here, because it knows it's an array, because I said it's an array, you see all the array functions. Muy bueno. And if I, for example, I say map, then I get a callback function here, and I can start working on the event. because I defined up here in the event, I defined the shape of an event. In this case, these are not very interesting, but if this one becomes a string, for example, and this one also a string, then we can, for example, say string.name. Well, all the fun stuff that you can do with strings at your fingertip with control space. So if you want to see that, screencast view, I think, screencast mode. Yeah, control space, and then you see all the fun stuff. For example, to lowercase that you might want. To lowercase, there it is. And it will even tell you when you do something wrong that doesn't exist and so on. For example, if we just say event dot I don't know, t, well, t doesn't exist. I don't like, well, of course, let's say coffee. TypeScript doesn't like coffee. Let's say, because you didn't define it in the interface, so it thinks it doesn't exist, and it will warn you that you're using something that doesn't exist on the actual event. You have to, of course, be aware that, particularly on the levels when you switch, for example, to the database, then you probably need to do some stuff, and the Mongoose helps you a lot with that. How can I magnify what type? What I typed like you did. Control space. The problem is it doesn't work. Are you using VS Code? Because then you can try the following. If you have anything, so control space is the basic. You can try this one. If you use just define any array inside of your code, and then try to do this result dot, and then control space to see everything. And it will give you, even in JavaScript, if you're using VS Code at least, it will give you all the fun stuff that an array can do. Yeah, VS Code or working with your IDE is also an amazing skill for a developer, to be honest. Being able to debug and using your IDE efficiently are so great on productivity. Of course, the basics of programming are more important. So, yeah. If you want to leverage TypeScript even in JavaScript, you can do that with the help of comments, in fact. You can do something like this, and then you say string. And now TypeScript thinks it might be a string. Okay, that doesn't work with assignments, unfortunately. And probably because I'm not in the JavaScript file. Language mode, JS, JavaScript. Let's say we have const x equal to get value. And then so currently it would say x is an any type. But what you can do, out of scope question, is you can write, I think, at type, and then, for example, string. What was the syntax for that? JS doc type annotation. How long did you take to be good at JS? I'm good at TypeScript, I'm not good at JS. I don't know. It takes it depends on which part of JavaScript you're looking at. There will always be parts where you're like, why? And if if you're interested in it, there's an amazing talk that I sent pretty much to everybody who hasn't seen it yet. Brian Leroux, What the Fuck JavaScript? You will love it. You will love it. You will also start hating JavaScript. but still, TypeScript is the better part. So it takes a lot of practice, depending on which part you're looking at. Even if somebody has worked 10 years with JavaScript, they will still be like, oh, okay, they need a week or two to get into the framework, for example. Let's say you have a React developer and they have worked with React for 10 years. I don't even know whether that exists for 10 years already, but anyway. And all of a sudden you give them a completely different framework, or you give them, you tell them, now work in the backend. It takes time, depending on what you did. Like I do like JS more than TS. Yeah, you probably write JS, JavaScript instead of TypeScript currently. It's a great part to start. Absolutely. It's a great thing to start. You can basically, you can just start here, right? Let me go somewhere. Yeah. You can just start right here, and you can immediately start in the browser and so on. That's so amazing about JavaScript. It works everywhere, pretty much. Yeah. So TypeScript is just an upgrade. If you have enough of not having auto-completion, consider TypeScript. or annotated JavaScript. Where you do something like this. I'm not sure about the syntax anymore, unfortunately. I forgot the syntax. Is it this? Yes, annotated JavaScript. Yeah, for example, if you define a function, say hello, and in JavaScript you would just say name, maybe, right? And then you console log hello and plus name. But what you could do now, even in JavaScript, you can say something like add param string name, and then it will say, oh, name is a string. And you can do name dot, babs. You have all the fun stuff that you wouldn't have without this annotation. Because if I do this, well, name dot, because the compiler doesn't, or the IDE doesn't know that, well, this is actually a string, even though you know that is a string. And you can switch that kind of on even in JavaScript by using this notation here. The JS docs. That's, if you're interested in that, this one basically gives you a starter, probably. It even does more, I think, than what I was talking about. Anyway. So I hope that was helpful. Let's remove all of this fun stuff and see where we actually stopped with our NestJS application. Sitting on top of Express.js. What were we about to do? I think we threw everything out and replaced it by Yeah, we replaced everything with the help of NestJS query. Aha. I think that was it. Yeah. We did include price queries now. So let's say greater than 10, for example. This should filter out the green tea, which is less expensive, so cheaper than 10 euro. And there it is. It works. It just works. Isn't that amazing? So essentially we can throw these two away, which is amazing, I find. So let's actually do that. Throw those away. App controller, no. Entity module. T service. Thank you. You did your service well. But now it's time to go. It still works, even though we don't have anything on that part. We just have the NestJS query module. Let's say, let's commit that. Replace custom logic with NestJS query. So this is a refactor actually only. Well, it's a feature, I suppose, because we did provide also filterability and so on. That didn't work. Okay. So let's say factor. Remove that code. There we go. Okay, done deal. So what else do we want? So we did check out. Let's maybe go into the diagram back. So we did check out NestJS GraphQL. We did check out NestJS query. Next time, because it's getting kind of late, we are already streaming for 3 hours. Next time, I probably want to go into Cognito. This is going to be interesting, absolutely, as well as the front end part. So we bootstrap an application, a React application, with the help of Amplify, and we also provide an identity provider, and with that probably also complete login and so on out of the box pretty much, because I did that already once. And it does take, it's kind of fiddly because the Amplify UI components are not that ideal, to be honest. And then we have the complete authentication on this part. The part that then gets interesting is connecting this to the backend, which is probably not what we are going to do next time, but in 2 weeks then. Or maybe I stream on the weekend, I don't know yet. I will see how motivated I am. But we have all of this, which is a good start, absolutely, I think so. We have our T API. So, let me push all of this for whatever reason. Push by Amazon. Everything is on the GitHubs if you want to check that out. Episode 44 is the directory for today. NestJS GraphQL Cognito, and we're actually going to continue there next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun, and I hope we both learned something. Also, thanks for the new follows. The mass structure and the heave. I greatly appreciate you spending your time with me. and hope to see you next time in the TypeScript Tea Time. Goodbye, everybody. Cheers.